Welcome to Mark's Motivational Podcast, another Music Sunday. So it's great to be back again. I'm doing these once a month now. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Deba Biswas today on the show. I had the pleasure of hearing him live the last time in an open mic that Rob McLeod hosts. I'm going to check out his stuff. But after the show, I'm going to share all his links to his songs on Spotify and wherever he has his music, you got to check this out. He's absolutely ace, absolutely brilliantly. Really, like his voice and his songs and the melodies are really top notch. Like I can't kind of emphasize how much I enjoyed listening to his music. It's absolutely brilliant. So, Deba, thanks a lot for joining me today on the show.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Mark. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to be here talking with you, and I'm glad we connected during that open mic.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's great to we finally get to do this because there's been a few hiccups along the way. Yeah, yeah,
That's absolutely fine. No
yeah.
worries. Glad to be
Okay,
here.
so brilliant. So you want to start off the podcast? You want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and a bit about your music would be a great place to start, please.
Yes, so I'm an academic by day and a singer-songwriter by night, if I may say that. And I've been doing music for a while now. I can say about 20 years. When I started doing music when I was in school, I picked up a guitar and I started playing covers and joined my school band. And I think it was the culture of music in my school that kind of drew me into this whole thing, because we used to have these annual festivals where bands used to play different songs in solo duets or as a part of a band. And I was really inspired to see such good quality music being played, and that kind of inducted me into picking up a guitar and pursuing music. And over the years, I've been a part of a band, and I've done music solo as well. The band was with my good friends, and as time progressed, we kind of naturally went our different ways, which is why we couldn't stick together for the longer haul. And that's when I started gravitating towards a solo music career, and just playing the guitar, harmonica, and sometimes a little bit of the ukulele. And yeah, I've kind of found my voice and the craft of songwriting over the years. So I've put out an album and an EP and a couple of singles with the latest one. So yeah, happy to be here in Dublin and amidst this absolutely lovely music scene.
Yeah, no, it's your songs are amazing, really, really good. And Jagged Crystal and Rock influences your band. Jagged Crystal released a progressive rock album and even got airplay on BBC Radio Leeds. Do you want to talk about that, Deba? Yeah, please. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Jagged Crystal is very close to my heart because it's a band formed with my dear friends from school, and this was back in the 12th standard, and it lasted for 2 3 years. So we were heavily into progressive rock and metal, and that's when we put out this album when we were heavily under the influence of rock music, and we
Mm.
wanted to experiment with changing time signatures and heavy riffs. And we made this album called Grayer versus Grey. We were listening to a lot of Pink Floyd, Dream Theater, and Porcupine Tree, and yeah, we were all pumped up to do heavy stuff. And the airplay at BBC Radio Leeds, it was something very interesting that happened in the journey. So um, we actually sent out a cover recording of the song Zombie by Cranberries.
Oh, great song.
And
Yeah.
and we took a shot because there was this segment on BBC Radio Leeds, which where they were showcasing young bands doing music back in India or in Asia, and the curator or the presenter kind of really loved our sound, and yeah, we were over the moon to have our song played on the program. So, and life indeed comes full circle, and that's one of our favorite songs, an Irish classic. And here I am in Dublin making music.
Yeah, that's ironic. Brilliant. Great story. And how did it transition into a solo career then? I know you touched on that at the start, but if you want to maybe elaborate a little bit on that, please, Deba. Thank you.
Yes. So when we were doing music in the band itself, I felt that there was a part of me which really enjoyed this foray into rock music and progressive metal. But there were parts of me which kind of had an inclination towards a softer, more country singer-songwritery kind of sound. And that's something that I really wanted to explore back then itself. And because of these constraints of not being able to take the band forward, I was left with no other option but to do solo. And that's when I kind of deep dived into, my taste for these other elements of music. So I was listening to a lot of Bob Dylan, uh, Coldplay, Sting, and John Mayer, and these artists really influenced my playing style, the way I wrote, and kind of conceived arrangements around songs. So that's when I actually transitioned from a more heavy rock oriented sound with a full blooded band to a more solo, stripped down, mellow singer songwriter kind of soundscape.
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, because I understand there because Bob Dylan. I don't know if you saw the movie recently, but his
Oh,
music
yeah, yeah.
is amazing. Yeah, really, really good.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. I got the chills when I saw the movie because it's such a nice journey of a singer-songwriter actually maturing through the different, stages of life. And yeah, I was like a fanboy, watching the movie and rooting for Dylan all along.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff. And how was you've been played gigs in India and now Ireland? Um, is there what's the differences in kind of how could you maybe say culture in the different for music? How has that been for you? The differences in performing in different countries. Obviously, you're from India originally, is that right? Deba?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I'm from India, and yeah, I think I've had very nice, fulfilling experiences in both India and Ireland. In India, I would say that the kind of exposure that I've had is around playing gigs in pubs, cafes, and I've played in a big music festival open for one of big artists back in India. Um, Culturally, I would say that we're still at a nascent stage when it comes to really embracing new, fresh music from emerging artists.
Okay.
So I would say the independent music scene is still kind of growing. It's still not at a very mature stage. People really go to places to pay and watch established artists. So that's something that I felt when I was doing gigs that it was predominantly playing covers
Mm.
and peppered in with a few of my originals. But coming here to Dublin and in Ireland, one big difference that I've noticed is that there's a taste for new independent music, and there are a lot of forums and places where you see emerging artists, and not even emerging artists, you see seasoned artists
Mm.
coming forward and playing their repertoire of songs, and you have a captive audience who are lending their ears and cheering for you and paying to watch new music. So I think that makes a huge difference for singer-songwriters to thrive and gather the courage to put out new material. And this is something that I really appreciate here in Dublin. And this has kind of motivated me to really start writing more stuff and put myself out there and sing my songs.
Great stuff now, and we're all delighted to hear them as well. So great stuff. And can I just ask you as well, like you mentioned on your bio as well about playing festivals, like that must have been an incredible buzz for you. Um, and like how does that um transition to playing the smaller little venues like the open mics? How's the experience differ really, Deba?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. And yeah, I think playing in a big festival it's really thrilling and it's unnerving as well because when I played this festival called Zoma Land back in 2019, I was opening for this artist called Nikhil D'Souza, who's uh, a very famous singer back home. And when you're opening for a big artist, people have really paid to watch that big artist, and they're just really waiting for the artist to come and rock the crowd. And for an opening act, there's a lot of pressure to really, raise the bar and live up to the expectations. But at the same time, it's a huge opportunity because you have a big audience where you
Yeah.
can showcase your music and get noticed. So yeah, the thrill and challenge was there, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the most memorable experiences, I would say. But having said that, I really adore these small, intimate gigs because I think the kind of audience that you get, they're very appreciative and open-minded, and they really listen to what you have to offer. And these are the kind of places where you hone your craft as a singer-songwriter, where you try new material, where you polish your craft.
Yeah.
And I think this is very important for any emerging singer-songwriter to, experience these small, intimate open mics. I think this is where an artist is born. So I would really value these open mics. And yeah, this would eventually lead to bigger venues and bigger opportunities. But I think there's no substitute to open mics and intimate gigs.
Yeah, I know, great because I find that when you're doing the open mics, it's a good way of practicing as well for your own gigs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's very good practice, and I think, like I said, you know, sometimes you have songs that you have already released, and sometimes you have songs that you're writing and polishing and in the middle of perfecting it, and you get this opportunity to try out a new song with a new set of people, and you're performing, but at the same time, you're kind of noticing what kind of vibes you're getting. Are people,
yeah,
appreciating it or connecting with it? So it's a very good forum for experimenting with new stuff. So
yeah,
it's very valuable, I would say.
definitely, definitely. And can I just ask you about your new song you released recently, "Where You Belong"? Um, I'm looking forward to hearing that. I don't know if you played it on that particular open mic, but I'm sure it's great. But like, do you want to talk about the story behind that single, that song that you've written or released?
Yes, so there's an interesting story about this song. So, um, I was making this song back in my hometown in India before I left for Dublin, and I was working with my sound producer, Abhi, from Renaissance Records, who produced my previous EP, and he invited me to an audio engineering workshop that he was conducting, and he told me, Deba, why don't you, try and write a song impromptu in the studio? Let's do this experiment where I'm just going to give you a hook of a melody and you try writing a song and just go with the flow, pour your heart out, whatever you have in that moment. So it was a little overwhelming for me to start with, to just hit the studio and write a song from scratch. But I found it oddly fulfilling as well, and the thrill of actually tapping into the moment and writing a song then and there on the spot. That was thrilling. And
Mm.
subconsciously, I had this idea about where you belong. So I always had this idea about a song where I'm kind of talking about a place, a place or a set of people, a community where you connect, where which resonates with you, where you know feel you're heard and seen for who you are, and that's where you belong. And those thoughts, those threads came together in the moment in the studio, and it was a beautiful experience writing about the song. It was almost manifesting the life that I was going to embrace here in Dublin, the whole music scene, and finding a community of musicians. So, yeah, I think where you belong is a universal feeling, finding your niche and finding your place in this world.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, that's a great backstory for that song. It sounds brilliant. Um, I would ask you to perform it now, but what I find is on Zoom, the sound does be really really bad when you try play. I don't know if you've ever tried playing over Zoom. It doesn't work out too well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's okay. So
Yeah,
probably I'll share the
the link. Yeah,
Spotify. Yeah,
please, that'd
you
be
could.
great. Yeah, yeah. So what else can listeners look forward to, Deba? Upcoming. Have you any other songs in the pipeline for people to look forward to listening?
Yes, so I've been working on quite a few songs which I want to make into an EP, but the strategy that I have is of releasing one at a time, like a single at a time, and then kind of aggregate them into an EP or an album. So the next song that I have lined up is called What If, so which I'll be releasing hopefully in a month or two. So yeah, it's a ballad of sorts. Asking naive questions about what if I could, hear people's thoughts and feelings. What if, the world was a better place? So different kind of musings about a little bit of magic that exists and we hope for.
Sounds great. Yeah, sounds really good. Yeah, I love your inspiration, your songs. It sounds great because this is a motivational podcast, so people will be really motivated by your words there. So thank you. And
Thank
can I just
you.
ask you, like, I love your variety of different kind of genres, like the rock and the Bob Dylan, all that kind of stuff. It's nice the way it all gels together. So, what does your songwriting process look like?
Yeah, so I was having this interesting conversation with another friend that I made during an open mic, and he asked me this question. We were chatting in a bar, and he asked me that, Deba, what's your songwriting process? How would you, kind of explain it? And I'm kind of drawing from that conversation. So I was telling him that I generally try and get a melody, a hook, which eventually becomes the chorus. So that kind of gives me that vibe that okay, this is the epicenter of the song. So it's like you write the climax of the movie,
Hmm.
and then you work backwards and you kind of build up the story to lead up to that climax. So I have the chorus, and then I kind of stitch together the other melodic parts, the verse and the interlude. And then once the melody is done, like once the movie is written, then you start casting the actors and actresses in the script. So it's like the words then fit in to the melody. So it starts with the melody, and then with the vibe of the song, and then I kind of try to write the words, which kind of it kind of goes a little bit back and forth between words and music. But yeah, that's how I try to do it, starting from a mood and a melody line, and then going into different aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a really good plan. All right, great stuff. Yeah, yeah. Because
Thank
like as a songwriter, do you find what kind of really inspires you to write your music, and what kind of keeps you motivated? You know, maybe sometimes that you might not be in the mood. Do you have to be in the kind of mood to write your music, or what like kind of what way? What are the best times for you to write? What strategy do you use really?
Yeah, so of late, I think I have slowed down the process of writing because uh, I feel that I write a song when it comes to me naturally. And I think any form of art or creativity is triggered by life itself. When you go through something, you have different emotions playing in your mind or heart, and it kind of triggers you that, I was so struck by this uh, you know person's conversation that I had, or something that happened in life, which kind of got me thinking, which got me feeling or reflecting, and then it translates into poetry and music. So I don't generally like put an item in a calendar that, okay, I'm going to write a song today,
Yeah.
but a song happens, and in the most unplanned way. And I've sometimes tried on a Sunday morning, waking up, okay, I'm going to write a song, and I have ended up wasting 5 hours doing nothing.
Yeah.
And on a stressful day, when I was completely, devastated, it took me 5 minutes to pick up a guitar and write something which made sense, and which finally made into the studio. So yeah, that's how chaotic songwriting is.
Yeah, no, great, great stuff. Yeah, thanks for explaining that, Deba. Brilliant. And how do you feel the best way for kind of advertising your music? Some people like Spotify, and other people can't stand it. Like yourself, your own opinion really about Spotify, and what way do you find the best way to get your music out there and played, Deba?
That's something that I'm still figuring out. Yeah, I do the regular stuff like putting out music through different, streaming platforms. So whether it's Spotify, iTunes, or Deezer, or all the standard platforms, I try to push my music to those platforms. And then there's Instagram, where you can put out small snippets of your music, whether it's a video or updates about your gigs. But I think all of that, I think, will get tied to your presence in the physical world. So unless you're doing gigs, unless you're going to events or showing up or playing up, people are not going to know you. So I think there's digital presence, and there's real world physical presence, and both are important. And I would say the physical presence leads to the digital presence.
Hmm.
So I think that's the organic way. When people start discovering you in different events or different gigs, they start following you. They start, tracing your music, and that's how you build an audience ground up. So I would prefer it that way rather than like going the digital way first. So
Yeah.
I want to grow slowly, organically, and find a real audience who would care for my songs and pay to come and listen to me.
Right, Deba. Great. Yeah. Thanks very much. And any gigs coming up you'd like to let the listeners know about? Upcoming gigs to mention.
Yes, so there are a couple of gigs that are lined up. So one is on the 27th at the Boards Pub. So it's an open mic which is conducted by Smithfield Creatives, and they have
Yeah.
these 10-minute slots which they advertise. They have a curation of artists that they select and decide. So I'll be doing a 10-minute slot for the Smithfield Creatives on the 27th of this month. And the 30th, I'll be doing the Clockwork Doors. I think the sitting room sessions of the Clockwork. So that's on the 30th. And I'm in the talks for another gig, which has not been finalized, so I don't say much. But yeah,
Yeah.
just two gigs this month, 27th and 30th. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any gigs coming up, just post them and I can put them on the show notes for people to check out as well.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
I'll get the formal links for the shows, and
Perfect.
I
Yeah.
can send it
Yeah.
across to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would.
So, Diva, thanks very much for coming on the podcast and sharing your great story and all about your music. And I'm looking forward to sharing all your links to Spotify and wherever you play your music. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Mark. It was an
yeah,
absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'm very glad we connected, and
yeah.
so happy to have been on this program.
Yeah, Deba, thank you so much, and all the best for the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thanks. So, thank you
Bye-bye.
everybody for tuning to Mark's motivational podcast, Music Sunday. So, make sure to check out all of Deba's work. I'm going to put on the links, all the links to his music. So, once again, thanks, Deba, and thanks, guys, for watching and listening. Thank you.